After a roller coaster ride of a 3-day sail from Honduras, we finally arrived in Mexico. We had a list of boat projects to tackle, but first, Gary had to check us into the country. There were a couple of other boats who arrived the same day, so they hired a truck and set off to check us in.
All right, day 2, and I finally have the last document we need to be in Mexico.
We are done. We're successfully checked in.
I think we're done. We need to go get tacos now.
No más. So basically tacos.
Cerveza y tacos. Vamos.
Vamos.
We arrived at the marina 2 days ago, and we were pretty exhausted from our sails. So we just spent the past 2 days checking in, doing the customs process, which was a 2-day process, and also just like kind of relaxing and catching up on some sleep. This morning, though, we dropped our main because we need to fix the batten pockets that tore during our sail. But Grace on Calico Skies is doing haircut day on the boat. So I've not had my hair cut for probably 2 years. So I'm gonna stop working on the boat for a minute and go enjoy a nice haircut. And I hope she doesn't mind. I'm sweaty. And I probably should shower before I go over there, but she's a sailor, so I'm sure she won't mind. Knock, knock.
Taking care of your hair while constantly having it exposed to sun and salt water is a bit challenging. So before Grace could start chopping, she had a couple knots to cut out.
Sounds about right.
You might need to cut that one.
Yeah, just cut it.
I had not had my hair cut since we departed on our journey, so you can imagine just how great this made me feel.
Wow, thank you. Sweet.
But we had lots of chores to do, so we made our way back to One Life.
Hair is cut. Grace did an awesome job. I'm going to shower and straighten it tonight so you guys can see what it looks like. But it's back to the sail repair for me. Gary was working on our fuel tank issue. So I need to take the battens out of our mainsail so that I can move the sail around to do the patchwork that needs to be done. So my only goal for the rest of the day is to get the battens out and then get our sail up into the cockpit. And then tomorrow morning, first thing, I'm gonna wake up early and hopefully patch the sail before it gets too hot because it is brutal out there right now.
Now that we're safely tied up in the marina and we're all checked into the country, it's time to dig into our fuel issue. So I'll show you what I had to do when we were out at sea just to be able to get the engine to keep running. But essentially, here in the engine room, we have 2 of these Raycor filters. One's there and one's over here. And one of them is for the generator and one is for the engine. And from each of those, there's a fuel line that goes back to the tank and then a tube that goes down into the tank for each one. And there seemed to be a blockage in the fuel line for the main engine. So I took this fuel line off of the fuel pump on the motor and I routed it over to the generator one. So right now our generator is disabled, but at least we're getting fuel to the main engine. So I need to go to the fuel tank now and start digging into it and try to find out where the blockage is that's stopping fuel from flowing to this main engine Raycor right here. Well, not great news. I got the fuel tank access fittings off and pulled the plates off to look inside. And there's a bit of algae and some sludge in there. In fact, the sender is just completely covered in sludge. So I think I'm gonna have to empty the tank and clean it out. I'm still not sure where the blockage is. It's gotta be in the pickup tube for the main engine feed. So I think I'm gonna disconnect a hose in the engine room and try blowing through it to blow whatever's clogged in there back into the tank. And then I can clean out the tank and put it all back together, but it's definitely going to be a pretty big project to get all this diesel out. There's probably still like 20 or 30 gallons of diesel in there, and it needs to be emptied so we can clean it all out. With Brooke's help, we pumped all the fuel out of the tank into jerry cans and got a good look at the sludge left behind in the tank.
Yep, got it. I'm watching it.
I tried to blow through the fuel hose from the engine, but couldn't force out the blockage with my lungs. The next step was to separate the fuel line from the pickup tube and try again through each one individually. Removing hoses and fittings that haven't been taken apart in over a decade is always a challenge. Can you hold this here when I go blow it out?
Ready? Whoa. That was a lot of fuel.
Okay, that blew out pretty easy, so that's not clogged. With the hose clearly not blocked, it was time to blow through just the pickup tube. Yeah, we definitely have a clog in the tube. Got it.
You got it?
Did you hear that?
I heard it. What was that?
It was sludge popping out of the tube.
Do you see it?
Oh yeah.
I want to see
It's
it.
disgusting.
I want to see.
It's like stuck on the walls in there.
Can you see it on the wall, like the forwardmost wall?
Ew.
Yeah.
That's better.
Now it blows good.
That was our clog.
Woohoo! Good job, babe. Now we just gotta clean everything. Yeah?
Yeah. Fixed.
Now we clean it out.
Well, our fuel clog is finally cleared. So we took the fuel line off here at the tank, and I tried to blow through it from the engine room, and it wouldn't go at all. So I ended up blowing through it right here at the top of the tank, and down the pickup tube, blasted out a pretty big ball of sludge. So that was definitely what clogged it up. So Brooke right now is reaching in there with towels, and we're trying to wipe out all of the sludge and the algae. And we'll get the tank all cleaned out, put all this fuel, it's like 28 gallons of fuel. So then we'll pour that through our Baja filter back into the tank after we have the tank cleaned out. So it might be a pretty long project, but at least the problem is identified and solved, and that's half the battle.
Well, my arm is smaller than Gary's, so I can get in there a little better.
But you can't reach as far. I think we're gonna have to use like a stick with a rag tied at the end to get into the deep corners of the tank. It's almost a 70-gallon tank or 80-gallon tank, so it's pretty big to reach through just a little hole on the top.
Ew. No wonder it got clogged. Going in. I did the initial clean. Now Gary's doing the final cleaning. His arms are a little longer than mine.
With the insides of the tank wiped clean and all the sludge removed, it was finally time to call it a day.
So yesterday we finished cleaning out our tanks and removing all of the sludge. And now today we are gonna run our diesel through a Baja filter and refill our tanks. So we're getting ready to do that now. But anyway, back to work today. So let's get going.
We're gonna use our Baja filter to clean all of this fuel before we put it back in the tank. And what this Baja filter basically is like a 3-stage filter. There's 3 different screens. There's a spacer that goes at the bottom, and that's so that any water in the fuel will sit in the bottom and not come out of the tube. And then you put these screens in. The finest screen goes at the bottom. Then the next coarsest one And then the most coarse one. We used our siphon hose to empty each jerry can, one at a time, through the Baja filter and back into the tank.
Look at all that stuff in there. The first filter was completely clogged, but the second one is clean, so I guess the first one's doing a good job at removing all this sludge. It's pretty disgusting how much is in it. A little alarming.
With all the fuel back in and the tank reassembled, it was time for the moment of truth.
Are we ready to try to fire it up?
We started with the generator, as we knew that side should be working.
How's it look?
There's sludge in the bottom of the ray cores. I need to disassemble them and clean them all out too. With the generator running fine, it was time to try the engine.
Yeah?
All the fuel connections were checked for leaks, and the vacuum gauge checked to make sure there was no restriction. Everything was working great.
So we've been working on the boat all day, but tonight we're gonna have a little fun. So I'm preparing the Mahi that we caught during our passage, and we're gonna take it up to the little pool barbecue area and cook it for our friends and have like a little potluck Mahi dinner tonight. So it'll really be like the first fun thing that we've done while we've been here in Mexico. I'm looking forward to it.
I had fun cleaning out the fuel tank. I guess Brooke didn't think that was fun.
It's not the kind of fun I had in mind here for Mexico. The marina amenities included a pool with a picnic area, which was perfect to share a meal with our sailing friends. We spent the evening eating good food and visiting with new and old friends. Another day of projects here on One Life. I am going to start sewing the patches on our batten pockets. And Gary is looking further into our transmission leak and the shaft seal that he thinks is leaking. But our boat is a mess, and we still have lots to do before we are able to leave the marina and explore Mexico. So sewing is something I dread, but the sail wasn't going to repair itself. So I grabbed a bit of material, my speedy stitcher, and a pair of gloves to get started. The hole where the batten tore out wasn't that big, and a small patch of Dacron on each side should do the job. This may look like a small project, but it took me most of the day to complete. The patches certainly aren't perfect, but it will do the job until we are able to get to a sail loft for a proper repair. He just called me down to see how much water was coming through the shaft. I don't like when water is coming through the boat, even if it is just a little bit. He says, oh, it's fine.
We have quite a few problems on One Life. We have our fuel issue sorted out now, and the fuel tank's all cleaned out, and everything's running good, but we still have the problem with our transmission. So we've had a small leak coming out of the back of our transmission for probably over a year now. I think it started when we bent our strut all the way back in USVI. And it hasn't been too big of a deal because I just put a little container under there and catch a few drips, and every now and then I was adding some transmission oil just to keep the level topped off. But on our last passage, not only did we have to motor for longer than we've ever motored before, but the transmission leak got a lot worse, to the point where I was adding a bottle of fluid about every 6 hours of motoring. And we were down to our last quart bottle of transmission fluid when we got here. So we can't go on like that. So yesterday I pulled the coupling of our shaft off of the back of the transmission, took out our flexible coupler, and then I slid the shaft aft about 6 inches to make room. And I have a replacement seal, oil seal for the back of the transmission, but to get the coupler off the back of the transmission, you need a special tool because they used a custom nut to put the coupling on. I don't have the special tool. I can't go buy the special tool. I can't even find it online. So I'm gonna have to make it. I think I'm gonna head up to the boatyard and try to find some piece of metal or pipe that I can make a special socket out of with a grinder. So I'm up here at the boatyard trying to find some piece of metal or an old pipe or something that I can use to make this tool. And there's a lot of stuff laying around here, so I'm kind of hopeful I might find something that'll work. I was able to find this assembly of various pipes at the boatyard laying next to an old motor. And I'm hoping that one of the pieces in this will be the right diameter for me to grind down and make the socket out of. We'll see.
Don't smash your knee. Yikes.
After about an hour of grinding, I realized it wasn't going to be precise enough to do the job. What I had on board wasn't going to cut it, so I took a cab to Home Depot to see if I could find something else to try. I just had a little tantrum because after like 10 hours of being bent in this hole, I finally got this special nut out. So yesterday at Home Depot, I picked up a spanner wrench and I ground a couple grooves in it to try to grip on this nut. But there's just not enough space in there to actually turn the wrench, even if it was gonna get on there. So instead, what I ended up having to do is take a punch and set it in one of these grooves, and then I just hammered it and got the nut to turn. So next step is to get the coupling off, but we're one step closer to changing our transmission seal. With the coupling finally removed, I got my first look at the oil seal, and it definitely didn't look great. Whew. Well, got the coupling off and the nut off, so just down to getting the oil seal out and putting in the new one. So I think that's enough for one day. Time to have a beer and take a break. We'll get back after it tomorrow. That's good. The next morning, I woke up and got right to work. Well, this morning I was able to pry the old seal out with a screwdriver, and I installed the new seal, got everything bolted up back together. So now I just need to add transmission fluid, make sure that the level's right, and then we can fire it up and see if it leaks. That's the sound of an engine running again, and I don't see any transmission oil leaking out the back, so I'll obviously need to keep a close eye on it as we motor again, but everything's back together and seems to be okay. So hopefully we can check this one off the list, but I'm not gonna call it done until maybe like a few months from now when it's no longer a problem. But I'm glad this ordeal is over with. That was not fun, digging in under the shower and bending in there trying to do all of that. Access is always a challenge on boats, and that was a pretty miserable one, but the job is done, I think.
All right, we've been at this marina doing boat work for several days, and today we're gonna go have some fun. with a couple of the other boats that are here. We rented an Airbnb for 2 days. We're pretty stoked about it, but we're just getting all our bags and we're gonna head out.
I think my English actually like got worse.
Es todo. ¿No hay más? Uno más persona.
Cheers.
We know where we're going?
Only a 15-minute drive away, we decided on a villa that had room for all of us to relax and enjoy a couple days away from the marina.
So I said I was never making tacos while in Mexico. And I just made tacos for the last time while we're in Mexico, hopefully, because I refuse to make tacos while we're in Mexico. Here we are. Making gringo tacos.
I'll say tacos. I love tacos.
Gary's going down.
Let's do it in the pan. You've already tried this once. How'd it go? 1, 2, 3. Nailed it. Oh my god.
Hard, you know. I mean, it's 5 gallons, right? So it's like 40 pounds of water.
Yeah, there we go. Wow. How is that working though? That's not even...
How many sailors does it take to change a water bottle?
Today is day 2 of our Airbnb, and yesterday was pretty fun. We got in around like 3 or 4, and we played some games and just hung out by the pool. Our friend Brian got a tattoo, so that was fun. And today I think it's just going to be more of the same. We're doing a little editing work today, and then I think we're going to get in the pool. There's a beach right out back, but because of the storm that's come through right now, it's pretty kicked up, so I don't think we'll be doing any beach going. But this place is like beautiful. There's a bar here and lots of cool hammocks. And it's just really nice because it's big enough for space for all of us just to kind of like unwind and have a little piece of this paradise to ourselves for a bit. And it gets us off the boat, which is really nice. But look at this place, it's really beautiful here.
Something's in the air. I can feel it everywhere. Every color seems to bloom, and there's light in every room. Now that you're looking up, I can see it in your eyes that lately it's been tough, but now the sun is rising.
Our Airbnb stay was a really fun time for all of us, as we do not get away from our boats too often. A little land life is always good for our souls, and we couldn't have asked for better company.
So the beach is out here, but the owner of the villa that we're staying in said that we shouldn't swim right now because the current is really strong. And there's people who've actually been swept away out here. So we're just staying within the confines of our little playpen. That's okay, we see a lot of beaches, so I'm okay with it. It's a really big place, and if you're wondering like what a villa like this costs to rent in Mexico, it's $250 US a night, and when you split it between 10 people, it ends up being pretty cheap for all of us, which is the reason we decided to book it. Another reason why we chose this place is because it's the only house in the area that has Wi-Fi. And when you have 4 YouTubers in one house, it's pretty important that we all have access to social media. And the marina Wi-Fi isn't very good. So anyway, we're all soaking up the Wi-Fi while we can. It's pretty fast. Wi-Fi?
Yeah, look at us all. It's addicting, isn't it?
It's so nice.
On our last night, we put a couple games, had pizza night, and stayed up way too late.
How was your Airbnb stay?
It was great.
What did we do?
We partied our asses off.
How do you feel this
I
morning?
feel fine.
Are you ready to go back to the boat?
Yeah,
Let's go. Let's go home.
let's go home.
Okay, no?
Okay, no.
Porque sí.
Okay, see.
How many bags do you guys think we brought amongst the 4 boats?
Too many.
Like, is it at least 50 bags between the 4 of us? Like, I don't
It's
know
because
what.
when cruisers leave the boats, we get like really excited. And, yeah, we just want to live our best life for a couple of days. I don't know. That's my flimsy explanation.
We took our hungover selves back to our boats, anxious for our next weather window to get sailing again. Cheers, everyone. Thanks for watching.